What's up, you guys? Steven with Magic Amount of Money. We got a new year upon us. 2021 is officially in the rearview mirror, and man, what a year it was. Paper Magic came back, countless product lines, lots of places to park your money. I mean, we had 5 different standard sets, Time Spiral Remastered, Modern Horizons 2, 16 Commander decks, 8 Challenger decks, and 45 Secret Lairs. Whew. I can't believe I said all that in one take. With these dozens of purchases that we could have made over the last year, we're going to review the highs and lows and see what's been performing the best and worst so far, short time horizon, and we're going to discuss some important lessons that we've learned along the way, which is really the most important thing. We're taking time to review different purchases. We want to make sure that we're learning, understanding the market, and improving our ability to make good financial decisions. We also need to discuss how long it's appropriate to keep your Christmas decorations up because you just don't want that time of year to die. And lastly, if you are new here and haven't yet joined the Wolf Pack, make sure to do so by hitting subscribe. Let's dive in with the first major lesson we've learned from 2021, which is that a short time horizon is just absolutely chaos. It is just so volatile. Prices go up and down, and products are released and they spike and they tank, and it's just crazy to try to predict all this stuff. So remember, time is your friend. I mean, think about Time Spiral Remastered, right? Those boxes launched and you could have gotten them for $200, $220, and they crept up to $250, and they spiked all the way to like $350. I mean, that is crazy. There were supply issues, and then there was the whole, scandal of releasing a bunch to the back end directly to the market through Amazon, and ignoring the distribution chain. All that happened, and then the prices came down and they settled where they are now. What, 250, 260, maybe they're 270 now. They kind of came down, but if you just look at any individual point and then look a week later, it was just chaos. Prices were changing by the day, by the week. It was just nonsense. And if you're trying to get in and spike and saying, hey, I want to buy these, I think they're going to go up, or hey, I think this is at a good price, they're not getting any cheaper, I'm going to buy them all at $350, and then the prices tank over the next 2 months or even 2 weeks, depending on when you bought them, that can cause a lot of chaos and can be really difficult to time. And but we're talking 3, 4, 5 years from now, right? Time Spiral Remastered, $350 will probably look like a fine purchasing price if they're at $450, $500, whatever they're going to be at. It might take longer to get to $500, we don't know, but that's the whole point. The point is that if you're looking to park your money, you need to be ready to set it into a product and leave it there for years. I mean, 5 years is really at a minimum. Anything shorter than that is really just inducing a lot of risk, and it's really difficult to flip on the open market. Sometimes you get it right, but sometimes you're stuck with a whole bunch of product that is just tanked in price. I mean, think about Adventures in the Forgotten Realm collector boxes. Like, if you bought those things at $225, even $200, well, you're boned. I mean, they're at $160 now, and they're probably going to stay flat for quite a while before they creep up. And I think they will in the future, and I'm pretty bullish on those long term. But short term, no. And if you bought those things at $200 or $225, you just lost a lot of money, which is fine if you're thinking this is going to be a $500 box 10 years from now. But it's not fine if you were going to try to flip those and say, hey, I really need these to sell for $270 on the open market, so I'm going to buy them all at $215 and really hope I can make that extra money. That's when it becomes really sketchy. Overall, I am going to say Time Spiral Remasters is really our first major win of the year. If you bought these things at anywhere near 200 or 220, now they're staying strong at 270, you're looking good, and I don't think they're going to dip. And I mean, maybe a little fluctuation, but these things aren't going to tank. I mean, a lot of them have been flushed through, a lot of product has been opened, and what's sitting there left now is that's it. That's what we got on the market, and these things, I think, long term are going to do really, really well. Now, flip side, what was the first loser of the year? And I'm going to say those were Call Dime collector boxes. Think back last year, almost a year ago, last in February, everyone was excited. We've got this Norse mythology. The cards are beautiful. The showcase frames are absolutely gorgeous. There are gods and flip cards, and it's awesome. This is exciting times. So, the collector boxes released, and, they look strong, nothing crazy powerhouse level. I mean, these weren't extremely powerful, Throne of Eldraine type of cards, but the designs looked cool and interesting and fun. They had the pathways, which we know are good lands. 225 seemed all right, and now less than a year later, these things are sitting on the open market at 160. I mean, these are just as low as you can go, limbo style. How low can we go? I hate that. If you bought these things at 225, even 200, hoping that you were going to be able to make a quick buck and flip these on the open market, oh boy, did you take a bath. And that pattern that we saw, release of the Call collector boxes, really has continued for all collector boxes. Now the numbers vary a little bit, some release at different prices, but overall, whatever they release at, they just go down, 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 and continue to sink. These things have done really poorly in the long term, and long term, meaning not just at release, but over the first 6, 12 months, they're struggling. And that brings us to our second lesson, is that some of the biggest losers can turn around and be the strongest winners. And the biggest reason for that is because your cost basis can be so low that your percentage growth can really, really accelerate quickly when we're talking about, over the course of 5 years. If you think collector boxes being at 160, 170, a lot of these are available for under 200 that have released over the last year. That's a really low entry point. So if your cost basis is that low, 160, we'll just say 170, that's really, really cheap if we're talking about long term. You think in 5 years, Call collector boxes are going to be under 200, under 250, even 300, 2027, right? 5 years from now. So long term, because you can get in at such a low cost basis, these might be some of the strongest winners. Time will tell, and that's what's important to recognize, is that some things are just hot trash, and the next minute you can't get enough of them, right? If you think of a classic example, everyone always talks about Apple, right? Apple stock, it was just worthless and it was just so cheap, but then it became the hottest stock ever, for a little while. So a decade. That's the whole point, is that things change and time can change. And time has a funny way of not remembering all the low points when you're talking about something that's so hot and it seems so clear and obvious looking back in hindsight. And that's what we might be saying in 2027. 5 years from now, someone's going to say, man, it would have been so easy to snatch up all those collector boxes at a low price, and now they're worth $500 and you could have 3 or 4 extra money, whatever. Yeah, that might be the case, right? That things will look crazy in the future, and some things that are the biggest losers this year are going to be what everyone wants in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Moving forward and hit the summer of 2021, and we got Modern Horizons 2 releasing. Paper Magic was kind of opening up again in a lot of places in the world, and everyone was really excited to do a pre-release with Modern Horizons 2 cards. And man, were the single prices just absolutely hilarious. People were paying through the nose for all types of random cards. Chatterfang selling for like $100 for a foil pre-release version. Things were just absolutely out of control. If you went to a pre-release, it basically didn't matter what you opened, you were going to make money selling it all in the open market in those initial couple weeks there during when that product released. Modern Horizons 2 was wild. Ragavan was like $30-$35 for a little while, LOL. Man, did a lot of people get that one wrong. I remember initially thinking the card looked good, and really the only reason I thought that was because I read Kai Buddha saying the card is absolutely amazing, and I trusted his judgment over mine. So many of the Modern Horizons 2 singles prices were just absolutely upside down. Things were so expensive that are now cheap, and things were cheap that are now expensive. It was just insane. And that brings us to our third lesson today, is that we really can't predict single prices. When products are releasing, it is really, really hard for the individual like you and me who doesn't have a local game store and ways to distribute lots of product and get it from a distribution at different prices. If you're just talking about opening cards and trying to get the right singles and sell them, doing that all early on is really, really, really difficult to understand what cards are good, what cards are bad, and what cards are going to be really desirable and increase in price. It's a crazy time. It's the wild, wild west those first few weeks when a product releases, and it's sometimes, you get it right and you realize, hey, I knew from the start Ragavan was going to be an amazing card, and I didn't have any fear that it would get banned, and so I bought 100 of them at $30 a piece, and I made a killing, whatever. I cleared $50 per card, and I just made a bunch of money. I made $5,000. Maybe, someone out there might have done something like that with one of the cards. I chose Ragavan as an example. It could have been, any number of the pricey singles that are so powerful and needed in Modern Horizons 2 for your modern collection. But then people also thought that Grief should be banned before the card was even released. And people thought if this card stays legal, it's going to be a $100 card, but people were also scared it was going to get banned, so they didn't want to touch it. It's just impossible to predict this stuff. Trying to flip singles as an individual person without a storefront to have all that foot traffic and lots of people to buy and sell and being able to buy at buy list prices, that's really, really hard to do. All right, we got to talk secret layers. There are 45 of them, and for the most part, these things were pretty much all winners. I mean, there were definitely some stinkers in there, don't get me wrong, but overall, the Secret Lair product line, if you bought any of these throughout the last year, a lot of them easily 1.5 times the initial price, 2 times the price, 3x the price. They've really skyrocketed. It's pretty wild, and I don't think that's going to continue. I think a lot of people have seen that, so there's a lot more people buying them now. But as far as the 2021 purchases are concerned, if you bought Secret Lairs, almost assuredly have those things skyrocketed in value if you've kept them sealed. We're not going to cover all 45. We're going to review a bunch of them right now, some of the highlights, some of the really exciting ones that have done well. Kaldheim Part 2, the Croxa one, $30, now it's $85. Very rad. That one was foil, so it was $40. Now it's $80. The Unfathomable Crushing Brutality of basic lands were $30, and now those things are $60. But really, online, there's only like 3 available at that price. Then you very quickly get to $65, $70. I mean, these things are just climbing and climbing even more and more. You had Black is Magic, we went from $40 all the way to $85, and then of course the Praetors were $30, and now they're $70. I mean, man. Those numbers just sound ridiculous. It just sounds so obvious. Like, whoa, why didn't I do that? Well, you know, not all of them were that great. The Strixhaven one, you bought it at 35, it's at $35. Or you bought it at 30, now it's 35. Okay, that's not that great. The full text lands, the basic lands, you bought those at 30, they're at 38 now. They've gone up a little bit. The Mark Pool one, bought it at 30, now it's 35. That one surprised me. You know, I had a Wasteland in it, Birds of Paradise. I thought this thing was going to do really well. It's Mark Pool, like the OG Mark Pool, and those things have just kind of stayed flat. They've gone up just a couple bucks, that's it. The Jen Partel ones, $30, now they're $31. Fiona Staples, you bought those at 30, now they're like 34. The Mother's Day ones, those ones have even gone down. They're even cheaper. You bought them at $30, now they're 25 on the open market. I mean, there were some stinkers. You know, not everything just doubled and tripled your money. It wasn't just a free print money train. And there were plenty that were just kind of in the middle. You know, they didn't do great, but they're looking okay so far. And maybe these will turn around, and maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, they'll really spike even more. Who knows? The Valentine's Day one, I mean, that one was $30, and now they're like 50. If you buy both parts together, remember, the Valentine's Day one did not ship with the Heliod card in the package, and so if you buy that thinking you're getting Heliod, you are not. The Heliod card's shipped separately. Our show is on Friday. Can you make it? That one was $30. Remember, that was all the funky, weird band art ones of like, oh, we're a 70s funk band or whatever. Those ones are like $45 now, so they've done okay. The Shocklands, this one surprised me. I thought these would be doing a lot better. You bought them for $30. Now they're between $40 and $45. That's not really any type of a premium or anything, you know, it just looks like, and I thought the art was really cool on a lot of them. I liked that they were placed in different planes, you know, and that you could choose the different styles, and you could have that watery grave that's now like pirate themed. I really thought these would do a lot better, but they're just kind of looking like they're priced like the rest of the shocks, which that one surprised me. And again, this could very much change in the future, but that's what they're at now. And the Signets, these ones actually have done pretty well. You bought those at $30, and now they're sitting at $40, $45, so they've already gone up 1.5 times their price, and that one also really surprised me. I thought the Signets were going to be stinkers. The only reason I have any is because I bought the big bundle of the summer drop, and those ones look like they're doing some of the best. So, you know, you just can't predict this stuff. It's hard to know which one's going to do well and which one isn't of all these Secret Lairs and all the other products we could have bought. And that's really our fourth major lesson from 2021 with all these purchases, is that, you know, picking the winners and the losers is dang near impossible. I mean, no one can do it. Like, yeah, I can say like, hey, you know, I got the Unfathomable Crushing Brutality of basic lands ones right. Like, I saw those and I just thought those were absolutely going to be awesome. I also was kind of skeptical against the full text basic lands. I was like, who's really going to want these? These are, you know, not that funny, whatever. Some people like them, but the joke is up, and then you're stuck with these ugly, just full text lands. And I did not think those ones would do well. So, hey, look at me. I picked a winner and a loser appropriately. But I also got a bunch of other ones wrong. I got the Mark Pool one wrong, right? I didn't necessarily predict the Fairy Rad to double in price so quickly. So, you know, I got just as many wrong, or probably more wrong than right, but I didn't actually need to try, and that's what's good, is I diversified. I didn't say, hey, I'm all in on this one, then I'm just going to buy 10 of the Mark Pool ones, and I'm going to ignore all the others that are releasing part of that big summer drop, and I'm going to ignore the Saturday morning cartoon one and all the other artist series and the Mother's Day. I'm just going to pick the Mark Pool ones, a big 10 of those. Why would I do that? You just buy the bundle. First of all, the bundle also saves you like usually 15 to 20% on your purchase price and get your cost basis down. But also it's the diversification that's so key. And that's what's so important is to remember is that diversification is your best friend, right? That's what really the best tool that you have when it comes to investing is to diversify. And that is not just across different purchases within Magic, right? Magic is just one small section of what should be a well-rounded, diversified portfolio of investing. If you even call Magic investing, it's very, very risky and very speculative, right? So you got to remember that you need to diversify across different asset classes, across different industries, different markets. I mean, everything, right? Different countries, different currencies. The most important tool we have at our disposal for investing is diversification. And if you just zoom in with a microscope and look at just secret layers as an example, that teaches us that lesson really well, that picking losers and winners is just frankly impossible to do on a consistent basis. Hope you liked today's video and that you can take away these lessons and improve your investing in the future. Again, this is just for fun. This is not financial advice, but I want to know in the comments below, what were some of the best purchases that you made in 2021? Did you get things in just an absolute steal? Did you get Time Spy Remastered boxes for like $180 a pop? Let me know in the comments below. We'll see you next time.